Welcome back to Late Night at the Movies on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk.
That's right. Yes. Come on. Come on. My name is Willie. Baby, I keep the ladies creaming, and all my fans got them screaming. You can defeat me, you're dreaming.
Little motherfucker talking shit. When the fag is involved, the problem gets resolved. Exactly. Here's the fact. Get set, motherfucker. Here we get in the gym. Come on.
Getting down to the nitty-gritty, making them run out on the field and so they could eat.
Give generously to Child Find of America.
And let's make every kid feel like a superstar. All right.
You should have fought for that superstar line.
No. Giving, team sport, those are the lines.
Meanwhile, honey, you used to do this spot alone.
Finished.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, Nico and Julie, what's going on?
Not much.
We got the movie that I decided to pick for this week, guys. I hope everybody's out there is a little excited. I don't know how really exciting it was. I mean, it's perfect timing for this recording, and I thought, let's give it a chance. But
technically, this was supposed to drop before Super Bowl since it was a football-related pick, but unfortunately, these two, including myself, I mean, I wasn't as rough as you guys were, but we were all sick last week, so we decided to be smart, and instead of you guys having some ASMR of us hacking and coughing and
God, I would have been so bad.
phlegm in the throat the whole
could have
time.
got us views. Could have got us views, bro. Just put some shorts up there of us doing the you can, like mucus thing. People watch, bro. They watch me already. So
Could have done a super cut of like disgusting sounds.
yeah.
So you guys missed out on that. But as a result, this is actually our first pick of the year so far, since our last episode was kind of like a grab bag of like different types of topics that we like kind of threw together last minute due to a cancellation, right? But yeah, Jay, this was your pick.
I know. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I got questions. I got mad questions.
I got questions for myself too. Don't worry.
Have you ever seen this movie, Jay? Though, have you previously watched this?
I don't. I mean, I've glimpsed and glanced over it. I've never actually gone through a full watch of it.
Okay.
And I mean, because you tend to. I mean, I could say that this movie might have caught my eye back then when you see the cast that it had, and
Sure.
and, a lot of the up and coming cast, that a lot of those people from this movie, have gone off to become really famous, as opposed to the one main actor, right? But I mean, really, there's quite a few big names in this movie, which was something that drew my attention in the beginning. But then after, I think a reason why I lost the attention for this movie in the beginning is the same reason that I did this time around, and to giving it a revisit and just trying to, I tried to. We did. Ultimately, it was more of a suggestion for us to put out during that Super Bowl month in that sense, right? So
you could have picked so many better football movies though than this one, bro. I gotta say to you,
Had you seen it, Nico?
No. So okay. So I've watched this movie for the first time. I guess we'll just jump into history with that being said. I watched this movie for the first time maybe a year ago, and I think it's because it came up in one of our many conversations about movies, probably with Max. And the last year or two, I've been trying to make an effort of like watching a lot of movies by maybe certain directors, or like maybe like things I've always heard about, but I've never actually checked out. So like this was something I think that was mentioned in passing, and I was like Jay mentioned, I'm like, oh, that's an Al Pacino movie I've never actually watched, and I love Al Pacino, so I'm like, I gotta check this out.
Okay.
And yeah, I did not love this movie the first time I watched it. I have now watched it 3 times within a year at this point, because I watched it twice in preparation for this talk here today, and I watched it the first time last year, but I think it was one of those things where I had it on in the background kind of watch, so I didn't really absorb it as much. That being said, I didn't really love it the first time I watched it, to be honest with you, right? So I'll just get that out of the way right here at the start. But I will say after 2 more watches in preparation for the talk here today, I've learned to appreciate certain stuff in the film. Like there's certain stuff I like in the movie. There's certain scenes I really like in the movie, but as a whole, I still think it's like, again, if we're going by Letterboxd standards, it's like a 3 out of 5 star movie for me personally. Right. So, and speaking of Letterboxd, I do want to just take a moment to tease that.
Shit.
Late Night Letterboxd is a show that we will be coming out with soon in your feed here, probably after the release of this episode, guys. So make sure to tune in for that. I know we teased it on our last episode, and if you guys missed out on that, that was a great conversation. We talked about a bunch of things, including David Lynch, because of his, his death that just happened recently. We kind of were able to talk about him a little bit in his career or what we know of it. And then we talked about Nosferatu, and we also talked about the biggest part of the conversation was the Oscar predictions for this year. So that was a lot of fun. Max was on that episode with us as well. So make sure to check that out, and make sure to check out Late Night Letterboxd, which Julie has kind of made up a whole, a whole identity for the show and everything, right? Like I'm gonna throw out the word.
Sometimes I can't sleep, and then the fucking ideas just roll.
Yeah, so that's gonna have like its own, like look and everything to it as well, outside of Late Night of the Movie. So make sure to check that out. That'll be an extension of this show. You'll be familiar with some of the things that we talk about when it comes to that. But yeah, but that's my experience with the movie. That was my I now watched it 3 times within a year. So how about you, Julie?
Well, I'd never seen it. This is my first watch, and I'm only just recently into football, so that's also like I'm a little bit in the weeds there. A little bit. I know, enough now to understand what's going on, but I've never seen it. I have seen some Oliver Stone stuff. That's kind of my history with the movie. Do I just give my overall now?
You might as well out the gate, because then we're going to go further into the convo here. But I guess if you want to give your overall thoughts right out the gate here, go for it.
This movie was a steaming pile of shit.
Wow.
This was so... I thought Oliver Stone was better than this. I don't know what Scarface-sized cocaine pile he got into when he made this, but this was 2.5 hours of coke binge editing. What the fuck was that?
Well, I had a feeling you're going to be having issues with some of the recordings. And stuff
I have a lot of problems with what fucking I just watched, dude. Like, just
the editing is crazy in this movie, but like,
I was like,
interesting.
So I was like, as I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, Jay must have seen this before. This is the biggest fucking ADHD style editing I've ever seen in my life.
It's the focus for 2.5 hours of this.
How the fuck? And now to come find out you didn't even watch it before we actually did this.
Prior to this, no, I didn't have the.
Now I'm just confused. So I guess you were just
even less.
You picked it on a whim, I guess. So now I'm even more. I have nothing. Yeah, I know. So now I got no beef with you picking it because you didn't even know what you were picking. But oh God.
It's a shame Max isn't here because
he would disagree with me.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm sure he'd appreciate your opinion on this, but I think he does like certain aspects about this film, and he thought, like, I think the editing is one of them because it's so. I think it's very purposeful what he tried to do with the. Here's the thing, like, this is not maybe in this movie he does it the most, but he has similar stuff going on in a lot of his films. I, for one, am not really that big of a fan of his, Oliver Stone, to be honest with you. Like, there's not many movies I like of his really all that much, to be honest, like from like looking at the stuff that he's worked on. But it's funny because of his involvement in Scarface, because you just mentioned Scarface.
He wrote it. Yeah.
Right. There's that part of it. He didn't direct it, but like, I love Scarface. I absolutely love Scarface. So like, I don't even equate him with Scarface. Okay. That like, so, but of course Scarface is Scarface, but this, Yeah, this is I think he purposely edited it this way to make it so crazy and sporadic, kind of like to give you maybe the excitement of the game at times throughout this film. I'm just this is just me
It's
theorizing. I
hard
don't
to
know.
capture.
Yeah.
Well, it is hard to capture any sort of sports game, I guess, on editing and I mean, I guess technology's gotten a lot better. I mean, you can see with the overlay, like it, but I think purposely those were done for certain reasons, in a way too. Like
I would
I
hope
know
so.
the tech. Well, I don't think the technology was quite there yet to where
This-
I
it
don't
is
even think it's that. I
here
don't even think it's
today.
that. I think he's just this is like Julie said, like that, and which is like I think a lot of people had commented on this movie. It's just like this is like doing a line of coke and then just editing a film, like the way that it's sporadically
No,
cut
like she
together.
said,
I'm telling you, the first 10 minutes, I was like, am I even watching the right movie?
See,
like,
but this is why you got to watch it like 3 times. But on the third watch, I was like, oh man, this is that crazy part.
I don't have the battery to ever do that again. I don't if I had watched this by myself, I would have shut it off. I'm so glad I watched this with somebody else so I could be like, that was fucking strange, right? Like, that was really fucking weird choice that they made. But also, it just like, yeah, okay.
No, I was gonna say, well, let's get the man of the hour's opinion on this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because you picked this, and like you said, you didn't
well,
really have history with this.
it's a 2.5 hour.
I watched the director's cut. I got an extra 6 minutes.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, I might have got that too. I don't know if we're at the same one. But mine doesn't usually say what cut it is. But yeah, this I had a hard. I mean, the visual aspect of it really got me good. That's the only part that really had me hooked. I think the storyline was kind, and I honestly, when I given it, like I said, I did the same thing as Nico did. I might have watched it 2 or 3 times and then sporadically in certain parts, because there's parts there that do stand out, and are sort of like a movie like the one that my nephew did in the You Gotta Believe sort of movie. It's the same sort of storyline in an aspect where they come out with, like, the older and the younger, and the two generations colliding. But then they don't bring any of the big NFL team names into it and stuff like that, because of the name itself. Didn't want it to, I don't think at this time want it to be associated with all the problems that can come from being a football player at this time. Right now that you sit there and you if you had a good second or third watch with it, or just even watched it section for section, I'm thinking this movie is a lot easier to watch. I mean, like I said, don't get me wrong, it is a big corny movie, I think, overall, because at first you don't know if you're watching college football, you don't know if you're watching football pros, or if you're watching what you're watching, because there's nothing that's relating anything except for maybe the names that are slightly twisted, instead of it being like a dolphin, it's a shark in a sense, right? Like, you know what I mean? So I find that it was good.
There's no official NFL team names or anything like that in this movie.
They mentioned the Dolphins though.
No, but the Dolphins, it wasn't the actual Dolphins like that you're thinking of, because it would have,
because Miami Dolphins is Miami Dolphins. The team in this was a Miami team, but they weren't.
No, I knew that, but like later on in the film, they were talking about the Dolphins, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, they do this whole bit to like dance around the fucking team names, but they had like Pepsi and other fucking shit in the movie that they got sign off on.
That's actually one of my biggest gripes about this movie, are the horrible team names in this. They're so
the
bad.
Americans instead of the Patriots.
That's why it makes you.
At the end,
even
when he
college
announces,
teams are better.
Right. There's like at the end when he announces that he's leaving the team for the New Mexico Aztecs, I was like, what the
what the fuck?
That new upcoming franchise. Up and coming. What was it like? When you're bringing in a new team to a league? Oh, what the hell they call that?
A new team, you're saying? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there was a word they used for that, right? Like there's an actual word.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
Because I'm going to use it for the
new franchise team. I don't know.
New franchise team,
Right.
So it was just kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop too, right? Because it was it was a weird movie. It was like fucking 4 or 5 different storylines going on at once.
Yes.
So you can literally chop it up into episodes. Honestly, instead of making it 2 hours, you could have made it 2.5 hours. You could have made it 2.5 hours, and
well, Why
45-minute episodes.
why don't you hit us with the stats for this film before we get into it more, though? Do you have like the rundown of like when this came out, like some of the main
Yeah.
cast?
Remember, I have the main cast here. Like the main cast is a studded cast right now. I mean, at the time, I'm not sure how studded they were. Besides Al Pacino, right?
No,
But
Jamie
you got-
Foxx was fairly new. Cameron Diaz had been around for a little bit. Yeah, so
I mean, and then some of the other guys were like rappers and stuff like that. You got LL Cool J and stuff like that. But those guys, they didn't make much money like they do nowadays. But you have Al Pacino, you have Cameron Diaz, which was at that point, I think, up and coming, where this was like a first, step.
She had done
into-
The Mask, I think, before this.
But yeah, then after she just got,
The Mask was her first thing, though. Yeah, that was her
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
so it was more of like, okay, we'll throw her in there. And it's funny because they give her second credit too, right? So the second main character, but I don't quite think that was really her. We get Dennis Quaid, which has been amazing. He's been around for a long time. He's probably a well-paid actor. But you got also James Wood, right? You got Jamie Foxx, you got LL Cool J, you got Matthew Modine. There's a lot. You can keep going down, and to tell you, like, to be honest with you, there's even people that
Actual
and
football players. in
Margaret,
this, yeah. Jim Brown is an actual football player who died.
That
actually.
that guy that they were like making fun of for playing all the metal music is Leatherface from the fucking new Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff.
Yeah, he's also Zangief in the Street Fighter film.
Yeah.
Look him up. Yeah, he plays like a big dude. But
I was like, who is this guy? I was like, he's gonna be a wrestler or some shit. And then I was like, oh, he's
Charleston
Leatherface.
Heston
Yeah, Charlton
Charleston-
Heston's in it.
was in this movie. Like it's just his voice, but still, like
Matthew
in a sense, he's
Modine.
showing Modine.
Is Matthew
everybody.
Modine the guy from Scrubs? Who's the guy from Scrubs?
I don't think he might be in Scrubs. I don't know that
he-
for a fact. Aaron
Who's-
Eckhart's
Yeah,
in
he's
this
that-
for like a
Aaron
quick
Eckhart. Yeah, I
stop.
forgot about that.
He's not just for he's in it a bit actually. He's the guy making the plays. That's right. Yeah, so he's behind
Sorry,
it.
no, that's not. It's John McKinley is the guy from Scrubs. Who the fuck is Matthew Modine?
He's been in a
You
bunch
go
of
down-
things. He's in Stranger
he was
Things.
football
He's
player.
Papa.
Terrell Owens played himself.
He's the guy from Stranger.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the guy from Stranger Things. He was the
I didn't recognize him.
he was the doctor, the other doctor that took over for James Woods in this.
No, I know. Oh my god, no, I didn't know. I didn't recognize him.
He's younger here, obviously.
He's very much.
Yeah. No shit.
He doesn't look as creepy as he does now. I think he looks a little bit more creepier now as
Right.
an actor.
Yeah,
than he
because
did back then, but
this came out 1999,
It's
and
26 years ago.
and as you mentioned, Oliver Stone directed it, and Oliver Stone co-wrote it with two other guys here, John Logan.
It's based on a book.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
I could see the book being probably better, the way it's played out, and maybe the stuff that they use. But the television show, I think for this cast too, they also had to kind of cheese out on certain things, certain aspects of the film. So I think let's see what their box office, because I don't know what the actual box office things were. I weren't seeing how much they actually spent on the movie. I didn't go that deep into it in a sense. But
Right.
Where's the box office scores?
I have so much for the first category.
Sorry, I'm stuck here, guys. My fault.
I think that this is maybe what happens when you try to do a book adaptation and you try to put everything into the fucking movie.
I just think that Oliver Stone normally has a lot to say, and I feel like in his films, and that's the thing again, like if you watch his other movie, JFK, it's like a 3.5 hour movie about his theories about who killed JFK, and he takes some factual stuff and then he just goes off the rails in terms of like his own theories on who killed JFK, and it's actually quite interesting. And to be honest, that's also a movie I just watched for the first time very recently, and it's probably my favorite movie that he's done because I like I think the type of filmmaking he does when he goes down the conspiracy hole works really well. But that's the thing. I feel like he was also trying to say way too much about this movie. Like there was a lot of things I feel like they were trying to touch on in this film to the point where like you don't really get the like for me, I don't know if there was just one message at the
I
end
know.
out there.
Yeah.
that was one of my other issues with the movie. Like thematically, like the things that I took away from it, I wonder if you guys felt the same. Like I put down here was that it's about a movie about life and opportunities, taking advantage of those opportunities when life presents them to you. And it also has a lot to do with, like, it presents the good and the bad about the NFL, and that, you know, in an over the top, unrealistic way at times, but also it kind of touches on the like more corporate based America type stuff where corporate America type stuff where it's just like that's kind of ruined the love of the game in a way, like, because there's many moving pieces I feel like in this film that kind of touch on stuff that people care about. Like the guy is worried about getting a bunch of a certain number of sacks so he gets his bonus this year. Like even like the messed up stuff that happens with doctors where they're giving them, you know, the guy's asking for extra cortisone shots because he wants to get back out on the field. You know what I mean?
Now we
like,
know what goes on in that blue tent.
Yeah, there's the whole aspect about doctors, whether or not, like, you know what I mean, they're the choices that they're making for these guys or for the team, or if it's for the person, right? The whole ethics part about that, right? Like that. So there's all these things. I feel like there's like all this commentary, social commentary on these issues within the NFL and with America and maybe corporations and like and this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't just get wrapped up neatly in a nice little bow. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of very like the film. It's very sporadic and all over the place. And very like, yeah, like you said about JT, the ADHD's dream, like kind of this film, honestly.
Well, I mean, it had, okay, so it's telling me it had an estimated budget of $55 million.
Holy Christ.
Wow.
Which is a lot of money back.
I spent half of that on licensing the fucking music.
And then you know what? They didn't even fully license it because they weren't even putting words in it. There's certain songs. There's I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, the song is a Black Sabbath or Ozzy song, and they just didn't finish the talking part of it. Right? There's a lot of things I have gripes with about the music. So I mean,
there's some music that works beautifully, and there's a lot of music that works terribly in this film. Yeah,
like Jerry Glitter's song was so fucked up that was such a strange thing for them to use. And then right next to it was some other really weird song.
Like, well, they used the Bill Withers song.
That was funny,
right? They used one of those. I mean,
I knew you would love that.
The two, I do. I like Bill Withers, but I mean, you can't really talk too much about him on here, otherwise they make me mute my voice. So it's serious, man. You know, they don't joke around. Like you can't even play the song. But yeah, no. And then the worldwide gross was 100.2, so it doubled its money worldwide, right, for box office. But like opening weekend in the US and Canada, it was only 13 million it made. Right? Yeah. So I mean, it took a while for it to get up there, but they made their money back and some. So I mean, I think
if that came out today.
No, but I mean, there's not a very, very big hype around this movie either that I've noticed too when doing this and watching and listening to some reviews about it, right?
Yeah,
there's not that, it does have its certain, because it's a football movie regardless, and I can see that aspect of it.
I also think it's like fans of Oliver Stone like this movie.
But that's why you get tricked into maybe watching something that you might like and you don't necessarily like it, because I don't think if you're a fan of Oliver Stone, this movie would be something that it would stick out to you if Oliver Stone has. I mean, Scarface, like you said, Julie, but I mean, really,
he wrote it though.
It's so different. Like you must have liked the character. Maybe he's doing a favor for Al Pacino by casting him because maybe he needed some money at that time, right? 99, he probably had a few grandkids going, and
I do have another Oliver Stone film I do like, actually, Wall Street. Wall Street's really good. Wall Street is by Oliver Stone as well, and Platoon's okay. I don't know, but like I haven't watched that in a long time. But Wall Street's really good. I think that holds up. I've watched that a couple of years ago. I feel like that one and JFK. I mean, I'm new to JFK, but Wall Street's probably my favorite thing he did previous to that. Watching that, but yeah, this is. I don't know.
Natural Born Killers, bro. I mean, he did.
I don't like that movie. I told you that already.
I know. Yeah. You don't like my two favorites there, but that's a whole other story.
Nothing against Woody. I just think I told you I don't like that movie. It's a Quentin Tarantino film that he took over a script. It was Quentin Tarantino script, And the way he described the film, the way that it came out, I just think that it would have been a much better movie had Quentin Tarantino actually directed that movie. So I have my own, I guess I'm just looking out for Quentin on that one.
Yeah.
But anyways, not my favorite either. So
no, but yeah, so I mean, it's got it's got its moments in the movie. If you take it for, not just such a corny movie in that sense, there is some, deep meaning and also, pretty good quotables in this, if I should say so myself, right? So, quotable moments and memorable moments, and like you said, Nico, you can you can have that speech that they have. They actually have the actual inspirational speech. I mean, there is things you can take from this movie, right? But yeah, like you said, it is all over the place, and
it's a scatterbrain film. Like that's the best way I could describe it. And I feel like any messages, any point he's trying to make that I think gets buried amongst the breakneck fast kind of like movement of the film, like where it's just like all the editing choices, all the different kind of plot lines that are going on. It's hard to really kind of center in on certain, like that's the other thing. Well, that's the other thing. The character development in this movie is really poor too. Like there's like I don't even feel like Willie's story is earned. You know what I mean? Like it's like one day he's a dick, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I'm not a dick anymore." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's that you get to read out that whole in, but it's at the beginning of like a conversation that I would have where it just comes in the middle, right? But you got to think about just before
that's the whole beginning of the movie.
Okay, just before that part where he changes. I mean, he's really, if you're looking at the way he's looking at things, and that he's starting to change. He's starting to have to learn to grow up and quick, because he's realizing he's losing a lot of things in his life that were around when he wasn't.
Yes. No, I mean, it's not a story that we haven't seen. Like, I mean, the guy gets a little bit too big for his britches, and like he thinks he's the shit, and then he realizes that he's pushing people out of his life that he cares about. And it's not like that we've seen that story told with other movies, other people.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's nothing new, and I think and that's why I do think it helps watching this movie more than once, because like Julie had said, like Julie, you only watched it the one time, I'm assuming. So, like you said,
you said 2.5 hours back.
It's so scatterbrained the first time you watch it. Like there is important things being said and moments that do kind of back up maybe more of the argument that there is some sort of character development for his character and stuff throughout. But watching it a third time, I kind of just centered in on certain scenes, and I had an appreciation for them. But like just kind of seeing this movie face value the first time around, a lot of that is lost on most viewers, I feel like, including myself, honestly. Like, so like, yeah, I have such mixed feelings about this film, because I really like certain aspects of it, right? I did, but then others not so much. There's a lot of terrible stuff in this movie too.
Very.
I was gonna yesterday. I watched it yesterday, like last night, so they would still be fresh in my mind when we got to this today. And originally I was like, "Fuck, this is a long ass movie." And like it's a sports movie, which is not really my thing. I was gonna watch it at 1.5 times speed just to get it over with quicker, and I would have I would have been so much more lost. I had to abandon that plan after the first 5 minutes, because I was like, I will not understand anything that's going on. Then I watched it at normal speed, and I still didn't understand 50% of what the fuck was going on. I just, oh God, I have so much gripe with how this was made. Like, I mean, I don't know, dude. And also, Jay, I was gonna give you so much fucking shit for picking this, because I was like, you must have seen this before. I was like, this is so fucking JT to pick this piece of shit. But I was like, I was so pissed off at you yesterday, because I was like, why would you pick a fucking movie where the guy throws up 9 times for the emetophobic kid to watch? I was so mad about that. I was like, how many fucking vomits am I going to have to watch?
Julie, it bothered. I can't throw up myself, so I'm good. Like, trust me. that's like that's something that I get jealous of when I watch. I'm like, yeah, look at
It
he can
doesn't
do it
make
on
me
command.
jealous. It upsets
but-
me a lot. But anyway, I've got oh man, most of my shit is technical stuff that I have problems with.
Right.
Like the storytelling, well, I have a problem with that too, because like, yeah, I feel like I was trying to explain what this movie was about to my friend from work today, and there's too much shit. There's so much shit going on. I forgot that Dennis Quaid was even in the movie. Like I was trying to explain all these moving parts, like you were saying, this really breakneck style that they're doing of how they're telling this fucking story, and you don't even really know who the main character is supposed to be. And maybe that's not the point. There's supposed to be all these, different points of focus going on. But I
Yes.
completely forgot about Dennis Quaid altogether. I was looking at IMDb and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot Dennis Quaid is in it, and there's this whole other fucking thing.
Yeah. No, because I mean, I would say the main characters are Tony D'Amato, Al Pacino's character, and then I would say Willie Beeman, Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, I was like Jamie
But
Foxx,
it's about
Pacino,
those
and
things.
Diaz. Kind of that was like the trio of what main
Yeah, because
focus.
when you get to a
Even
certain,
James Wood in there too is a good what do you call supporting actor in this one too? Like
He is, but he's not main like James Woods.
like a
oh,
supporting
he's
actor.
always such a scumbag and everything. It's great.
Fucking-
It's great. Yeah, it's great.
No, yeah.
But like between this movie and Casino, he plays the biggest sleaze bags like I've ever seen. Like it's great, man. It's he like as soon as James Woods shows up on the scene, the first time I watched this, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be a douchebag in this watch, and he is. He's such a douchebag in this movie.
I mean, even his IMDb photo makes him look like a he just gives that. That's right. I'm the shit.
Yeah, I mean,
You
he's
know?
problematic too, like on sets. Like he's had a bunch of like, if you've ever heard about James Woods, he's been problematic throughout his career as well, right? Just to work with.
True to life.
Yeah. So the other thing I'll say, I will say something positive about this movie though, is like Jay mentioned, there is a lot of those classic. Despite all the craziness going on in this movie, they still do hit on some classic sports movie type tropes, like the inspirational speech moment. What else? Like the old getting taken over by the young, like Jay mentioned, like that whole aspect of it. Staying around too long at the party, right? Like the whole
The
legacy.
hypocrisy of the fucking
kind of-
making this big donation to Dare and then doing coke in the other room, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, and then the even this aspect with the any given Sunday. I mean, that's something that people use all the time in a sentence when you talk about football in
I have
general, right?
never heard that before. I didn't know that this was an expression before yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was, and it was those like not even an underdog moment, more like a coming of age moment. And if I think they came out with it at a time where, you have a generation. I mean, I couldn't believe that. I still couldn't believe that it was a 2.5 hour movie that I watched. Like, I feel like I've lost time of my life that I could get back and probably watch real football. So I have gripes about some of the stuff with the football too, in this, because I've been such a big fan lately of football.
Mhm.
So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you can't really say much except like this is probably like I said, it's probably why they didn't associate themselves with the actual, they get the rights for the actual teams or the teams. Maybe I don't even know if the NFL wanted to even associate themselves with this type of movie, right? Because of what was going on. This is when they were dealing with the concussion issues and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And this is a bad part, and makes
Yeah.
it, and this is not anything that's not new to people that have watched football for years. And it's perfect at this time because the old to the new. It's a lot of these quarterbacks are switching out, getting hurt, certain things, and you're getting a lot of these young quarterbacks. So I thought about that in this to watch that for this part of the movie, like to do it as a cast.
Well, that's
yeah.
the other thing too, Jay, that they mentioned. Like, there's that whole scene where Jamie Foxx goes to Al Pacino's, his coach's house, and in that scene, he describes how he got fucked around early in his career. by people misusing him, mishandling him, and kind of making bad decisions for him in his career, not really giving a shit about him as a human being, with like having him like in certain aspects on the field, like or not for that matter. Oh yeah, you look fast. Well, I'm gonna utilize you this way, and I had no right to be in those situations, getting tackled by these fucking guys that are twice my size, and blah 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 blah. And that's another thing too that they kind of quickly touch on in that scene, and that's why this character has a chip on his shoulder. But I mean, if you're not, but again, that's just that story alone is like something they could have been they could have spent more time on and had a larger focus on in this film. But it's literally just mentioned in that one scene, and then a little bit in that interview that he has with that guy, the stupid reporter guy that does like when he does that interview and he talks shit about everybody on his team. Like he talks about it a little bit there.
His name too.
Yeah, but it's
the reporter guy. That's the guy from Scrubs.
Yeah,
that's the one, right? Yeah.
So like again, like that there's movies that just focus on that kind of stuff about politics off and on the field type stuff, right? But that's just a small portion of this movie. And like Jay said, the other part about it is I think all boils down to that final speech in the film. Because at that point leading up to that, when they start playing the Moby music, you're kind of seeing that how everyone's lives off the field are a mess, and like the game is what's bringing them together, and like they have to try to find some sort of like happiness.
Leader.
Yeah, in the for the love of the game, I guess, or something. I don't know, like because they all have problems like going on in their lives outside of this, like, you know, and
they're also like a family. As a team, they become a family.
Yes.
To play together like that, especially if you're going to take a beating for somebody else the way you do, you have to have that sort of bond. And if you can't if cocaine and fucking partying is going to help that out, then, you know, that's what some people bond with, right? But I mean, they were trying to get to a point, but they got to it too quick, I think. And it was just like he snapped his fingers, and all of a sudden he realizes that he's a grown man, right? You know, and he can take this and he can lead the team, you know, because he you know, you had to kind of it happened too quick, you know, and it wasn't even like the last game of the year.
It's not even that it happened too quick. They just should have had more scenes that led to that happening, is what I think it was.
Yeah, they didn't foster it enough. They didn't foster the story enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because like I thought
good.
Right, because I thought the same thing, but then I'm like we've been saying, this is a 2.5 hour film. There's been story arcs like that in films where at the end the character gets redemption and it makes perfect sense.
But it just drops off.
Yeah, but in this, it could have used. That's the thing. They had one inspirational speech at the end. They could have used a little bit more of all of those elements for a sports film as they normally do, but they didn't. Yeah. They were kind of focusing on they were bouncing around too much. Like it was just like, oh, here's another party scene. Do we really need another party scene?
Yeah, it's so disjointed and so disorienting.
Yes.
You don't have time to give a shit about any storyline. It's like you can't get invested enough because then they drop off and they give you this other thing. And then there's this. They didn't nurture any of the characters for you to fucking care about any of it. Like to invest properly, because then it's like they've switched to something else and you're like, fuck, like this, like they might have been getting on to something, but it just like you couldn't grab it because you're fucking holding on, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on for half the movie.
Because instead of just focusing on one or two like major plot points or like themes of this film, he decided to focus on 10 different things.
Everything. Yeah. Every possible thing.
That's this movie's biggest flaw.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Cause like there was moments there's that moment where he's in the sauna and that one guy, the shark player, Shark, he says he's the one that he's the one that it seems like finally gets through to him about like smarten up, like, you know what I mean? But like, that's what made you like, you had how many heart to hearts with the coach at this point, and then all of a sudden, like the play, I don't know, I don't know, like it wasn't earned, like him switching up, and then at the end, even with the Cameron Diaz character, at the end, she's like, oh, like to her mother. When they have like 45 seconds of the game left in the last quarter, she's like, oh, I'm sorry about how I've been treating you.
And yet like the actual physical timeline of the movie happens over like 2 weeks or something.
4 weeks, I think it is.
Like a month. This whole fucking whack ass character arc of each of these things is like happening within 30 days.
But this is another part that maybe you don't think of it, but in a 4-week, remember, football is a short season. And
I know that.
It's quick, right? So everything, maybe this is their life, like it was showing their lives and how quick it actually happens in their lives too, even though they think it doesn't. And maybe that's where you can get that runaway with that movie and stay focused on that whole thing. If you can, so you're right about the attention fucking to, like, there's certain things that you really gotta, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna see it, and you have to see it in your own mindset. Like for me, I was starting to see it in my own mindset after I watched it for the second time, right? And I started seeing that this movie actually does flow if you think of it as in a football aspect world. It does. It makes more of sense if you're looking at it that way.
I think that's generous, but I mean,
I am trying to be generous a little bit because
it's your pick.
It's ultimately, I know. I mean, it's not. I picked this because, like I said, I did it more for the.
No, I get what Jay's saying. I agree with what Jay's saying.
I had to watch this.
You guys are more seasoned than I am.
I didn't give it the greatest rating either. I think I'm there with Nico at that point, right? So to be honest with you, I mean, it was just a big tease of everything.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
I think
you can focus on characters completely for the whole film. Right?
I was gonna say that. I think as a film, it fails. But I think if you want to take certain scenes from this movie or certain things they may have tried to focus on in certain scenes, I think there is some good things there. Like I think there's some I know we're still talking about what we thought about the movie, but even jumping ahead, I don't think it should come as any surprise. Well, I know of, at least for Jay, because he's already said it. I don't know about you, Julie. The speech is the best scene in the whole movie at the end. Like for me, like that's like his inspirational speech. You need that in a sports film, and Pacino kills that scene.
It's a trope.
You need that in a life aspect.
Oh, I love it. The life is all inches. Like just the way he kind of like
says it.
Yeah, like it was like we're in hell and we gotta come up out of it. Like the way he like says, like I love what he says.
That's a classic.
Listen, I was so jaded by that part of the movie. I got more to say. My positives, you're not even gonna like.
Just watch it, Julie. Watch that one.
I've seen it.
Great scene. It is a great scene. It's great. The inches.
You could probably watch it. Yeah,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you about it when we get to that. I'll tell you what happened.
Like what I was inches, Julie. Life is a game of inches, right? Like
when it comes to like this is the way it's like looking at this photo in the background. I mean, it's just everything's all put together, and it's like, okay, this guy probably made great storylines for each of these characters, and they were long, and he had to cut them down into like 2-minute pieces, and this was all that was on left of it on the cutting room floor. You get what I'm saying? Like the editing, I see where you're going with the editing, because it's got to be an editor's fucking nightmare, right?
He edited this, right? He must have edited this.
No, I don't think he did. Really? I looked into this because I was like, I mean, he had to be sitting there and making and doing fucking.
Do that though. Directors do cut their own films.
Oh, I know that, but like, let me see. Hold on.
Like Paul Thomas Anderson is a guy that I think famously cuts his own films.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like he'll cut his own movie trailer for fuck's sakes. But that's Paul Thomas Anderson. But yeah, I don't know if he actually edited this, but
I would. 4 editors.
Is he one of them?
No.
4 editors.
Interesting. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's such a mess. If there's
probably the problem. There's 4 people, too many fucking cooks in the kitchen.
Can I just say one other thing? Not only
There's
is the
3 writers, 1 director, and 4 editors. That's a fucking football team right there.
Just throw it into a pot, man. This is what came out.
Stir it up. Here you go.
Listen,
here's what's left over for dinner.
Maybe that's too many hands all over this. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's the problem. But the thing is too, like, oh man, I didn't know I did. I just assumed Oliver Stone was also had to do with the edit. Like obviously he wanted, like he approved final. He has to approve final cut, right? As the director, I believe, or the studio does, or whoever, right? Like I think like
he must have been partying with these guys at the time.
He must have been okay with this, right? But I mean, that's the other thing too about this movie, though. Like,
it's so white America. I mean, not for anything, and it's just like so American, where because it's such a football movie and people are so crazy about football in the U.S. that that it actually made sense to make a movie, and then people could talk shit about it later, but he doesn't care because he's got his money in your pocket now. His money in his pocket, your money in his pocket. Sorry, fuck, spit it out, JT. But see, this is how, like, even when I'm trying to do a show here with you guys, to even lead the direction in the right way, okay, it gets a little bit fucked up for me because everything starts firing off at once.
There's another thing here too. The cinematographer, it was his first film.
There you go.
It wasn't his first project. He did a bunch of music videos ahead of this, which makes a lot of sense to me.
Makes
now.
sense with the
He
editing
only
now, right?
did music videos leading up to this, and this was his first film.
Interesting.
And that makes a lot of fucking sense to me. It doesn't excuse everything that I'm pissed off about, but
So another thing I didn't like about this movie, and I want to preface this by saying I'm a huge fan of this person.
okay.
Cameron Diaz was miscast in this movie. I honestly,
Oh my God, was she ever?
okay, thank you. Okay, because I love Cameron Diaz. Okay, I think she's great. I think she's actually really good at comedy. Like she's really good. I mean, outside of being hot, she's awesome. Like but
You just couldn't play that bitch role good in this one, I don't think.
I think
exactly. No, Jay got it. That's exactly my problem with it.
Okay.
I believe one aspect of her character, that she is the good-looking,
hot
rich,
daughter that nobody respected.
Exactly, and that she's bitten off way more than she can chew because she has to take over the team for her father who died, who owned the team. That I believe. But the fact that she's such a like everyone's like afraid of her, or like she gets into these arguments with Al Pacino or the league and the teams in this, I'm like, no, she is not ruthless, like cutthroat in this. Like the way they're playing her up, they want her to be that, but I just don't. I'm not buying what she's selling when it comes to that. Like I just think it's not very believable, that aspect of her character for Cameron Diaz, or maybe it's just because I'm used to seeing Cameron Diaz in a certain type of role, and
I agree.
I don't even think that she's bad, but it's very well at times she is. Yeah, she, like you said,
I think she had to, because she was miscast, she had to compensate by overacting the shit out of that aspect.
Right, but to your point, she is trying. She didn't phone this in, is what I'm trying to say. She is trying. It's not working.
Yeah, I think everybody, like,
she's working in a male chauvinist style fucking
for sure. And like everybody not taking her seriously as that person, totally believable. But she is miscast for sure. And I felt like, to compensate for like how out of place that was, she would just overacted like pretty much the entire time.
Yes.
And it was really campy and shitty.
Yeah.
But am I right? I think Anne Margaret did a great job as her mom.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was good.
She was good.
She played, and she didn't even have to try hard for that role. She just played the drunk fucking.
That scene where she's dancing with Pacino is what.
Oh my God.
Like, hey, Pacino's dancing with her.
I think Pacino's
good.
I think he's the only one in the movie that didn't overact.
Which is funny because it's Al Pacino.
I know.
Yeah.
I think
it's one of his career. Yeah,
he was the most believable character in the whole thing, and he didn't overact because the role of coach is that you're fucking dramatic and you're over the top. And everybody else, I felt like I was so pissed off at the writers. I was like, "What is the script? What the fuck is this?" Al Pacino was the only one that fit.
You're spot on with my thoughts on both of those people. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Because Pacino, like the overacting, like yelling shit, Pacino does that great. Like that was really good, those moments where he was yelling. You actually believe that. And in terms of Pacino, like roles, I will say like this is a good performance, not a great performance if we're gonna compare it to everything else. But it's a good performance. I liked him in this movie, but again, probably also miscast if we're being honest.
It was a little weird, but like he did it well.
I don't see Pacino on a football field.
No. I don't.
I mean, I could see him giving locker room speeches.
Yes.
But then you'd have to write it for him.
Yes, but then when it came to that, he absolutely killed that scene. So like, you know what I mean? So maybe I'm wrong. Like he was the right man for the job in that aspect, right? But
I mean, that's also where they get the priest in there and they have to pray after they lose every fucking game.
Oh my God, I fucking slapped my forehead so hard when that started. I was like, oh my God,
this
fucking kill me.
See,
This does not happen.
That script was so dog shit. I was so mad.
See, here's the thing that's funny about that is enjoyable on this about this film on the third watch. You start laughing at certain scenes.
This is the thing. This is my only positive note. This movie is so unintentionally funny and so fucking gay. Oh my god.
Gay.
It's so gay. That inch by inch speech is so gay. I was so tapped in to the weird sexual tension that was going on that I was like, this is
movie. This movie isn't gay. Get out of here.
It's fucking gay.
No, it's not. The inches are all around you. It's about the fucking field, Julie. It's not about inches of cocks.
Okay? It's inches of cocks. I'm telling you.
No, it was. You know what? I'll tell you.
I can't wait for Max to see my fucking takes.
That's the worst take I've ever heard. This movie's gay.
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
I have a co-signer on this. I'm not the only one that thought this.
Okay, but I
there's so much weird sexual tension between Pacino and Jamie Foxx. Sometimes I'm like, what is going on?
But I think it's more of a father-son. I don't know.
Nope.
I don't think it's a fucking like
I think you're confusing the male camaraderie of sports.
Football is gay.
Yeah, the tickle the ball thing after like
football is gay.
Also, if you're gonna say that, it's because people are standing around in the fucking locker room, dicks out. If that's what you're gonna fucking say,
slapping each other's asses and fucking.
That was another terrible.
That was sports.
Cameron Diaz comes it's sports, but that was like terrible. Cameron Diaz comes in, she's like, that thing better not hard it on me, guys.
Oh my god, dude!
Creepy, like that was just like playing a weird creepiness, like, and it didn't even work for her. Like,
also not acceptable that she's just strolling through there.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I mean, back then it was different, I think, bro, because they're talking 80s, I think. Yeah, so 80s, early 90s, right?
80s.
It was made in 99.
No, it was made in 99. They still they're a little bit further. The storyline is like early 90s.
I wonder when the book was from.
The change in the timing. Well, you know what? If it's got a Vince Lombardi quote, it's probably in the actual book too. The book's probably came out quite a few years prior. I don't think it came out. I don't think it.
It's from 1984.
Yeah, so it came out in the middle of
chauvinistic. You were spot on.
Right? It really did. It came out in a time period where it was actually changing for women in the world. They were getting more big positions and stuff like that, and the men couldn't fucking accept it. And I see that part in this film too, right, where the men, it's kind of just a whole fucking different aspect. Now it's like rewatching it now in 2025, sorry, what am I saying? I still always forget, guys. It's only the second month in, so don't blame me. But yeah, I gotta read now. I have to check everything. I wrote 2024 on every fucking thing. But yeah, so and that aspect, I think to watch it, and I picked that part out of it too. Feeling that way about it. So there's so many things I've picked out of this fucking movie in my head, of different aspects of how they played and portrayed it. It could have, I think for me as individual scenes, it worked great.
Well, I was gonna say, if you want to, should we get into scenes now? You want to get into some of the scenes?
That's kind of where I was gonna try to lead into.
I figured.
Right.
Go ahead, start us off. What was one of your favorite scenes then?
The ones where all the penises were hanging out. No,
I knew it.
Julie's favorite scene.
That's because JT's a bicycle.
I'm a bicycle. Don't forget about that. Everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe a tricycle, if you know what I mean.
I know. I thought Julie would be happy. There was titties and dicks in this movie. I mean, it wasn't just one thing. There was ass.
There was nice tits.
Name. Speaking of this, the nice tits. What was the strippers? Where did I see her before?
The Lady of the Night.
Lady of the Night. Yeah, the Lady of the Night. I was just gonna say that quotation in my head. What the hell did I see?
While you look for that, there's also cameo. We were talking about the cameos for the
Berkeley.
Oh, okay. The cameos of the former players that were in the movie. My favorite's got to be Dick Butkus. Hilarious name.
Dick Butkus. My favorite.
Terrell Owens.
My favorite. What's this guy? What is it? It was Kenny, the guy that you said that's in that other movie. That's the
Leatherface guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck is his name?
Oh, this guy here, Madman Kelly, Patrick
Yeah,
Madman
Kelly.
Kelly.
Yeah. He was my favorite player. Like of the other players of the team, he was my favorite. His moments were always hilarious.
He's a Kelsey looking guy, you know, like he's a Travis Kelsey looking guy. If you look at his IMBD picture, it's like this football player. He's got.
He
that
just looks
style.
like a wrestler to me, but he's a bodybuilder or former bodybuilder.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his actual IMBD photo, it's hilarious.
IMBD.
I just do it because I like the photos and stuff to see all the like from before and now, and you know what I mean, how it's changed.
I'm teasing you about BD. I am BD. It's DB.
He is
that
JT.
went right over my head. I am JT.
You're a TJ.
But
3.0.
So wait, did you mention a scene?
Yeah, what's your favorite scene?
My scene was that whole beginning scene where they just come in, and I really enjoyed that part of how you watch the football player, you know, take an injury and have to. But the part I didn't like about that scene, the only little part I have a gripe about that scene is that they throw in the second ringer and then he gets hurt right away before they even take the one guy off the fucking field, Dennis Quaid, right? Like you see him get hit. He got hit pretty good. I mean, what do they call that hit? The tomahawk jock or whatever.
The one where he got sandwiched and flipped over,
Yeah.
which that was pretty crazy.
Right? So I mean, but this one in the beginning scene where he actually took that nice hit and you know he couldn't move, right? That was a big switchover point.
Yeah,
and it was a good scene because it was a good opener. It was like, okay, here, this is how I think we're gonna lead the movie, but then we're gonna take you for a we're gonna take you for a little ride on the way, right?
Right. Yeah. My favorite scene outside of the speech was probably the whole period of the film where maybe I guess it's coming into the middle of the movie where Willie starts kind of like coming into his own, like after his first game out there, where he starts kind of making up his own plays and stuff like that. That whole scene, and then the one good I thought the best use of the music during the film was when the DMX song starts playing. Like when that starts playing, from Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, My N-Words is the name of the song. But anyways, when that song starts playing and then they start really getting into it and he starts like making up his own plays and doing all this kind of stuff and feeling himself, that moment's really sick. And then it leads right into the party scene, which is so gonzo. Like it's such a crazy scene. The guys are in the washroom, like the guy's like on the toilet and he's getting a blowjob and there's like condoms.
The other one's doing coke off the other girl's ass, and
that whole party scene, and then it was like had that weird like that weird music all over the place, and it was like cutting from like one wild scene to the next, and then like you had that like one that Kelly guy who's like like trying to like bang an old lady. He's like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah,
on the table in the middle of the room.
It was so wild. Yeah.
And LL Cool J showed up dressed like a pimp.
Yeah, that whole scene is insane. Like, I love that scene. I'm just like, what is going on here? Like he really captured like a crazy party in a good way. That's where the editing actually worked really well. I felt like the way it was kind of all spliced together, like all very quick kind of moments, like seeing the crazy shit happening in the party, right? Any moment where it got crazy like that, from all the way from like that to the part where the guy has a crocodile in the showers. Or
scare the shit out of it. Like imagine having to fucking dodge that shit.
Where did he get the crocodile?
Right outside. He's in.
It's Florida. They're in Miami. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Is it a crocodile or an alligator? I always mix them up. It's a gator. Okay, yeah.
It's a gator because they're in Florida.
Yeah, and they got more pointy of a nose. They're not. I mean, they can be a little bit shorter at that time, right?
They're the snout is wider.
I knew there was some
characteristics. Wider or longer?
It's wider. The crocodiles have skinnier.
Right. So there's that, and then even like the picking up the eyeball off the field.
Oh, that was disgusting.
Can that really? I mean, that can really happen.
Of course, it can happen. Of course,
you can get an orbital fracture, and if they accidentally
But like again,
too much sinus pressure built up, you can blow it right out.
Whenever it got wild like that, I'm like, what's going on here? And then he would just drop these scenes in between like some other stuff. Like it's just so I like that stuff.
Background for the good scenes. It was like a filler for the good scenes, like that, because that one, like you said, it went from Willie Beam in there falling into his own, trying to make up his own plays and trying to be the superstar. This is where this whole movie as a giant scene is well, it's a film. I'll give you my final thought on that later. But yeah, in whole, but I mean, in a sense that, you know, I like those party scenes because those party scenes made sense, Nico. If you remember, if you got to think about it, you're taking a lot of lower income people that are playing college ball or whatever, and they get into the pros and they start getting, you know, money and all of a sudden become famous, and now you're the talk of the town. Of course, you can have that's LL Cool J at his finest walking into that fucking, you know, that's 1999. LL Cool J. He was like, that's the lifestyle he lived in the 80s and 90s. He was a pimp. He was like, you know, he would dress like that. Right?
Yeah, you're sounding like Al Pacino now. Picture yourself out in the hood, and then all of a sudden your mother.
Your mama's calling you in for grits. No, I just said grits, but I mean, it basically is what's saying, right?
He gets called out for that, though. Jamie Foxx calls him out for that later on in the movie.
But that's another thing too, right? You're seeing how he's kind of standing up towards the white America in that sense in that time period, right? And
which he also says during his interview. He talks about that. He's like, "There's no black team owners. What the hell's going on over here?" Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why
he didn't seem stupid.
Like, it was such a big deal. Smart. That's why it was such a big deal when Jay-Z got into business with the NFL. Like, he's the one that does their the bookings for these. That's why you're seeing a lot more rappers and these type of things like actually in the Super Bowl now. You have to give credit to him because he's working with the NFL now, right? Like, and you know, despite what you think of him right now, I don't know, there's a lot of allegations going around about Jay-Z, but anyways, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. But
we're already fucked. We said his name.
I know, we're gonna get banned now.
Oh man.
But yeah, no. Just picture yourself at your home.
That's gonna hit the chopping block floor. No, yeah, seriously.
Why? It happened. It was in the movie.
It's so true. No, it's so true.
That was to illustrate how he could not connect with this guy on the same level. Like, he's a young guy, like, you know what I mean? He's like, what are you listening to over there? And he's like, Trick Daddy. He's like, oh yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Like, have you ever listened to Etta James, or what do you say, Ella Fitzgerald or something?
Yeah, like some jazz. You ever listen to jazz? He's like, maybe I'll make you a tape sometime. He's like, CDs, man. I listen to CDs. Oh, never mind that.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah.
You're not gonna like my answer.
Any scenes you like?
Every scene in which there was inexplicable sexual tension between Al Pacino and a player. Al Pacino and Dennis Quaid being this close to each other while he's got his hand on the side of his face. I was like, kiss him.
More of a father figure. I didn't think of a.
It was gay.
You clearly just don't understand sports, Julie. It's okay to admit that.
Sports are gay.
It's okay. You don't
understand
male bonding at all. It's okay.
That's all right.
You don't. I mean,
it's not for me. It's okay.
We figured that out with the trailer from earlier.
Can I circle back to something that I missed that I wanted to talk about earlier?
Of course.
Something that I was upset about, like what I think they did wrong, was obviously they filmed, because these were all fake teams and fake characters, whatever. They couldn't have used stock footage, I don't think, for the actual game footage.
Oh, no.
Right?
Never.
So they must have filmed all of this for the movie. Why did they have so much splicing of afterthought slow-mo and regular slow-mo of game footage? Film it all at 60. Why did they do that?
I don't know.
You're talking about like when he's had those dream scenes, which scenes are you talking about?
When they film stuff at 24 frames per second and then they put it in slow motion, it's choppy.
Oh, okay.
Because there's not enough frames there. It's not smooth. But they had a combination of both. They had some stuff that was shot for slow motion. They also had cinematic stuff that they shot in slow motion of like gameplay, not of during the games, not of gameplay, but of like Jamie Foxx just doing a reaction. And it would be slow motion.
So on top of that, what they also had, which I really
crowd shots were whack too.
Found annoying, were the fading shots where you would see a person's face and then you would start seeing like
the Sears portrait shit they were doing, and I was like, stop that.
that has not aged well.
That's
That
creepy.
whole
No.
subject, yeah, no. It
Also
was,
splicing in footage of horses running and lightning and laying in sounds of
there's
eagles
gladiators.
call and fucking lions and shit. I was like, this is so campy and
oh,
corny.
there
What
was
the
a
fuck?
reason to that for that. Like that was Jay's
And the
right.
whole other part of the movie.
Yeah,
that was the whole gladiator aspect.
yeah.
I know about that. I'm talking about when they were like they were doing this purposeful hype campy thing of like putting lightning footage in
Oh yeah,
during
that.
gameplay, shit like that.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, this is overdone. Stop it. But anyway,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
it was my gripe about slow motion that I don't think it's going to come up later. But
I don't
Yeah.
think they actually play when lightning and thunderstorms like that. They were showing in that weird.
no, that's what I mean. It was done for the effect of like, this is a badass fucking moment. And let's put lightning in. Let's put lions,
like
tiger
copy,
roars underneath the sound, and like let's put an eagle screech in when they put the defense in. And I was like, what the fuck is this crap? Like it was overdone. It was really campy to me. Anyway, that was
we had
a
to
thing I
compensate for that NFL thing, like the whole not being able to relate it in any way, and they had to. But see, then they were showing like old football games where they would blend that into like.
that's a thing. That's a thing he's really known for, though, is using like archival
What?
footage to illustrate shit.
in JFK.
But how do you add it in? How do you add
Yeah.
that in like that as a film as an editor? Sorry.
What do you mean?
Like it seems like weird. Like that visual effect to me was kind of fucked up for me, to be honest.
Because they were overlaying it and like fading between them, and then we'd have this kind of it's not so weird to me that they would use it at all for storytelling purposes, but you would cut between them. Yeah, you would do it differently than that.
It's the way
Like
they-
this could just be like a product of its time. This could be a very fucking 90s thing, but it's also just like a very Oliver Stone thing.
Yeah, because he did the same thing with footage for the JFK assassination.
Yeah.
JFK he did the same thing. And then he actually put some real footage in that too.
Oh.
And that's why again, that's another movie that
But that makes sense. We're talking about a historical event. Like
yeah. So that, but I was just saying to your point, yeah, that
Mhm.
also happened in that movie. I
Yeah.
want to remember. So, but yeah,
My other favorite scene is also well, no, I think it's more of like no, it's for favorite lines. It's fine. Let's move on to the other one.
any other scenes, Jay?
Oh, you know what? I like the inspirational, like the ones that Julie calls the male.
I was too focused on how gay it was by then that I couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, no, I mean I like the one where he went over and finally when he went to go have dinner at Pacino's house and Buddy in the
When they had
thing told him
jambalaya.
to bring him
Jambalaya.
flowers,
Jambalaya.
right? It
He's like, I'm not a very good cook, but I made this really complicated fucking dish.
But he brought him flowers. Like, I didn't know if that was supposed to be a joke that the players were playing on him.
You know why it's a joke? They played it on him because he walked in and he's got a huge garden in his house.
He's like, because wow, this house is pretty fun. It's nice.
He puts it in like the
Jamie Foxx
freezer
would
or
do.
something. He doesn't know what,
Yeah.
oh,
What am I supposed to do with these? Let me get
I
some
guess
water.
I'll throw this in water.
I know. And yeah,
I
he's
like
got the
that
garden inside the house. You know?
Yeah.
In his house. Yeah, it's funny. I did also put all the scenes where they had powwows. These two, I did like that when they met up. The gay moments, as Julie said. Anyway,
You're gay. Yeah.
I did.
It's a sports thing. Yeah, it is.
I liked also there was some good football sequences. Like some of them weren't that good, but I feel like the last 20 minutes where they are in the playoff game, I thought that was all pretty solid for football scenes. Honestly, I did really like that when they're up against, I think it's the Knights or somebody like that at the end. In that playoff game that Willie has to step in for after the Dennis Quaid's quarterback gets injured halfway like through the game. I did like that. And also the drunk dial Pacino did to his wife after he was at the bar. We have kids. Do you believe that? Why did we ever break up with each other? He like falls.
Oh, dude, it's fucking yeah. And then I like those scenes too with the lady of the night sort of thing. You know,
Yeah,
he's trying to Can we make this last forever? Sort of
Trying
thing.
to
He
turn
wants
a
his
hoe into
fucking
a
check.
housewife. And she's like, you
Yeah,
don't want
he's trying to. You don't want this. I just want your check, buddy. Just give me that $5,000 check.
it's so
Just wait, you can have
obvious.
my
Though.
number. We'll do. Yeah.
I remember you. You were in some big game. This guy could have just said like any fucking game that he was in. Like,
I feel like that whole part was like a setup too. Maybe he's
yeah.
usually doing that girl, right? So he's
Well,
telling her maybe come up to me in the bar like that so I look important again.
Well, at first he says no. No, at first he's not interested, but then later on you see him hooking up with her and paying her, right? Like that's later on in the movie. But like at first he's kind of like, all hammered. He's like, oh, it's okay. I'm good tonight. Like he kind of says no. But then after I guess his temptation got to him, he kept seeing her. I guess she was like a one that seemed like show up to all the team events. It seemed like she was at the party. You know what I mean? Like she was like around that chick, right? So. Yeah, that's pretty much I think all I got though. Oh, and the ending, I did like the ending where he kind of stuck it to them and he said
where he like does a mic drop.
Yeah, because like it does seem like he's gonna retire. Also, they added that scene, which I thought was actually a really good scene in the credits. Like,
yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I was like, why did they fucking? I mean, I guess that's our nature though, is to wait until there's like a post-credit thing now. Right. Which wouldn't have been the case then, but yeah, it was almost like they were hiding it. That was weird.
Yeah, because like
they didn't have enough time. Maybe they didn't have enough. They couldn't get. They had to fit that last little bit in there quickly.
Well, that's the thing. Like that was the big thing at the end, though. Like what a mic drop, because he's like, not only am I going to a new team and I'm not retiring because you guys
I'm taking Willie with me.
Yeah, like you down with me this whole time. I have full control over here. Like those, like we're gonna get into it here in quotes. Like those exchanges that he had with Cameron Diaz, he has some fucking fire quotes in those scenes. Like he's just like, you know what I mean, about being disrespected because he's been around forever. He's like, how many games how many Super Bowls I've won? He's like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like seriously, like he's
go win yourself one.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, yeah, but that's it for my scenes. Like that's all I had.
The one thing I do have a little bit of a and I couldn't understand it, that when they had that walk off at the end and he turns around, the coach is completely gone, like he just disappeared into nowhere. Like when him and Willie were walking on the field after they had won, and then he turned around to talk. He was talking over.
Yeah, he disappeared like that.
And then he disappeared. It's just like, where the fuck did he go? Like, was he even really there? Or is this all in his fucking head? At one point, I was like, did I just watch a 2.5 hour movie about a ghost coach?
No, he pulled a Batman on him. No, that's actually a good point. He pulled Batman on him is the way I looked at it.
It was funny, actually. I forgot about that. When he just turns around and he goes, oh, fuck. And I said that too. It was like he's pulled a Batman.
Because he throws the football and he's like, yeah, man, doctor's been telling me about my heart. He's like, what the hell?
That was funny too. He throws the football. I was like, he's gonna miss, and he did. And then he turns around and he's gone.
Coach, yeah, he's gone. He didn't even care. After all those good
funny.
parts where they're changing. Yeah, don't get emotional with me. I'm your coach. See you, suck it up, buddy. I'm gone. He just floated up into the sky and disappeared.
He was dead the whole time.
See, you know what though? Here's the thing I like to say though. At least this wasn't boring bad. We're laughing about parts. We're enjoying the conversation.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it was. That's what I mean. It was so unintentionally funny.
There's a difference between just bad, where you have like nothing to say about the movie. You're like, yeah, it was just shit. Like I have nothing to say about it. This at least we're like talking about moments we found amusing. Or at least
it was entertaining, but it was not a good movie. But that's how I feel.
Julie, if you were to revisit it, I might just throw it on just to watch a couple of scenes. I mean, like,
fucking, it's
inches. Yeah.
Inches. So gay. It's so gay.
Yeah. That's the quote of the century, bro. Like that besides that Vince Lombardi quote in the beginning, that's the quote of the century. That's where I feel like they really messed up, because they go with an actual NFL, well, maybe like about an actual football player. I don't know if it was NFL at that time, right? But they go with, I think he was part of Green Bay Packers.
It was 99. It wasn't that long ago.
It was 85.
Sorry, 84 from the movie.
NFL was around.
Yeah. Okay, so they used that part. But you know what I mean? They use Vince Lombardi as a direct quote, right? And pictures of him and everything, right? But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he more a Green Bay Packer?
Vince Lombardi, isn't he? Was he Dallas? No, I think you're. I don't know actually, to be honest. It's what the Vince Lombardi Trophy is named after. The Vince Lombardi Trophy, the trophy at the end there is named after him. You're probably right. I don't know.
He
I'm
coached. Let's
guessing.
see.
Yeah, I'm just guessing.
He was Green
right?
Bay. Best known as
Yeah,
head coach of Green Bay during the 60s.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of those old football scenes, were like old school Notre Dame fucking style, like 1920 fucking barely
He
wearing
was
a
a
helmet.
player for the Brooklyn Eagles and the Wilmington Clippers.
See, weird names.
I-
You're just not gonna hear of anymore.
I mixed up Lombardi with Landry, which is the Tom Landry.
Oh,
middle
Tom
school
Landry.
from King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Because that's why I said Dallas at first. I'm like, wait a second, right? But yeah, no, that's Lombardi, obviously. Yeah, that's the trophy's name.
Well,
He was the Giants offensive coordinator for a bit, and then he's best known as Green Bay, the coach for like almost 10 years. And then he was the head coach of Washington for 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, he was great. He was a great player at his time, and he was also, like he's I thought it was more about for the people too, because I think Green Bay is one of those teams that is still sort of like owned by the people,
right?
As opposed to having like
I don't know, but sure.
They kind of touched on something like that in the movie here too, as well, right? With that, when Cameron Diaz says it's for like the people in that sense, the team. Right. Yeah. It kind of made sense in that way, but they kind of tippy-toed around it. Right. So,
yeah.
But
I just remembered more lines that I thought were funny.
Well, I guess we're getting to quotes now, right?
Yeah.
Quotes?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You want to start us off then?
I don't. Oh, God.
Julie.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, there's most of the fucking quotes are coming from Al Pacino in these ones, because I found a lot of them inspirational, man. Like I really did, Julie, and you might not think the same. Yeah.
No, whatever. That's fine. Mine are all like ones that I like that were just the writing was really funny and they stuck with me. Of course, the speech is going to be whatever everybody's going to talk about. That
we're not going to say the whole speech.
I try to go outside the box a little bit when I pick up on quotes. I try to go with shit that you guys are not going to say.
So I'll throw one out there. So as I previously stated, this his talk there to when Willie Beeman hits the field that first time. He's like, "You know how to play this game. You played this game your whole life. You grew up in Dallas, right? So maybe you're back in Dallas right now. You're home. You're enjoying yourself. You're back in the hood.
Jeez.
Just before your mama calls you in for dinner.
Eggs and grits." Chicken and grits. Sorry, dude. That's all I was thinking.
The way he over enunciates on
the hood.
The hood. You're back in the hood. I was like, is this guy like, yes, there is a lot of football players that did grow up in the hood for sure. But like the fact that I don't think he knows anything about this guy.
Not at all.
Oh, no. Man. So that made me laugh. Just the way he said it mostly. Yeah, that's my first quote. There you go, Jay. You can follow that one up.
Well, I you know which one? Okay, I'm gonna jump into somebody that I didn't think that you would even think. But remember, when what's his name gets taken out with the concussion near the end there in that scene, and they're pulling him on the stretcher, and he's like, "Did we make it?" Right? And
he's like, "Don't drop me."
Yeah.
Oh, shark.
Like, yeah. He goes,
yeah.
He got his bonus, right? He made his bonus. He went out, he fucking played against doctor's orders, and he signed his waiver, and he made his bonuses, all for $1 million. When you think about it, now he's gonna be a fucking vegetable. I was thinking, right? But yeah, he goes,
I thought he was dead.
Yeah, so was I. I thought I was actually surprised he didn't die.
I was like, oh my God, they killed him. I can't believe it.
Bro, but the way they played it out, it's like the sun came on to him, and you know what I mean? It's like Superman.
He's going to the light.
The blood's like coming out of like his eyes and his nose.
Yeah, he hasn't started breathing for fucking 5 minutes by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Made my $1 million.
I thought that was great. That quote was like, because it's just out of the blue, right? You didn't and it's right at the end, in a memorable moment, right? But I thought that was cool. He was. That whole thing, he was wanting it for his family, right? Like if he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it, go all out. That's all I know. I can't even read a book, but I'm worth $1 million now. Like in a sense, like I'm just trying to make light of that quote, but yeah, it was, yeah, it was kind of cool. I like that quote there too. That was the one standout one for me, right?
Julie?
Oh man. I can't find the specific dialogue. This one made me laugh so fucking hard. When Jamie Foxx is fighting with his girlfriend.
Oh yes.
And she leaves.
Yeah.
She leaves and she calls him like a bucktooth asshole, and then he calls her a big ass bitch. There was something about the way it was delivered that was so punchy and funny.
Well,
every instance of when he says bitch hits so hard, it just is unintentionally funny.
Well, first she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go over to my friend's house," and
I'm gonna go over to my girlfriend's house and get fucked better.
Yeah. He's like,
"Fuck better than you." Yeah.
That was funny. I like.
Yeah.
That's like typical. Like when you become rich, you start turning your back on people you fucking that were there when you were, in that sense. That's the typical thing.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a story as old as time, that whole thing. Like, I get how he thought he was super, like, hot shit in the
His
moment.
head swelled up.
Yeah, absolutely. That part I understood. Like, that all made sense. I just don't think it was very, he didn't earn that redemption at the end of the movie for me.
No.
That was weird, right? Like,
not
anyway.
4 weeks. Yeah.
Right.
Even when his girlfriend switches up on him kind of in that bathroom scene, I was like, no, that's not deserved. Like, what the fuck is she doing? But it goes nowhere. So.
And to your point, like it takes place over a few weeks. The way she says it, wow, long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, it was last week. What the fuck? Yeah. She was like, oh, I got a new boyfriend. And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah. Wild.
Hey, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Do you not like the jambalaya? He's like, yeah, it's the worst shit I've ever tasted. It's why I've been puking it every week.
Yeah.
Did you not like the jambalaya?
Jambalaya?
Oh, there was another one too. Where LL Cool J, and it's Al Pacino's line, and he's like, "If you're gonna be a loser, raise your hand." Then nobody raises their hand. If you're gonna act like a pussy, raise your hand. And then and then Julian, I guess the LL Cool J's character Julian, right? It says Tony goes to him, "What the hell are you doing?" Because Julian stands up and raises his hand. He goes, "Well, I didn't want you to be the only pussy to hold your hand up, so I thought I'd help you out, coach."
I have a funny anecdote about that part. I put my hand up while I was watching it. I was like, JT called me a pussy this week. I'm a pussy. It's me.
Sure. That's what's wrong with your generation, Julie.
They put their hands up all the time.
That was funny. Yeah, I'm glad that I was like, oh, I didn't want you to have your hand up by yourself, coach.
That's why you think this movie's gay. There you go.
That's it. That's it right there.
Oh my god. I thought that was hilarious though, that how he just pulled it off sneaky, like that's an LL Cool J thing. It's just like he's playing himself as a football player, really.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. There wasn't much acting into it.
No. There's a fun throwaway one. He's like, "You married?" To that old lady. She's like, "I'm between marriages. Between marriages, what do you do for dick?" That guy.
He forgot about that.
Dick, yeah.
And then he's like, it cuts like from that scene to like some other scene. Like you're like, what is going on? that fucking stupid music is playing, like EDM music in the background.
Oh man.
God.
You have anything else, Julie?
I gotta feel Pacino's got some bangers of when he's just yelling at them when they're playing. I don't have any of them written down, but sometimes like when he calls out shit, that was funny. But when I wrote down
I'm
James Woods,
coach.
yeah, he would have some really funny shit he said. But like there's James Woods, that I think that was in the beginning when he was like that other guy was like, Cherubini's down. He was like, Cherubini, what did he fall off the bench? Like
yeah.
That was a good one.
Oh, it's just like he hasn't even got off the fucking field yet with the first guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, coach, calm down. You're gonna have a stroke. He goes, I don't get strokes. I give strokes, motherfucker.
Gay.
Yeah, that one is pretty. I'll admit that. That one, yeah.
That was gay.
That's a little sus, that one.
We're not talking about stroking like that. Come on. We know what we're talking about, Julie.
I
Come
know what he
on.
was talking about. I saw him with fucking what's his name with Dennis Quaid.
I know he should have said pause after that, Jay. I mean, let's be honest.
Pause.
He
Yeah.
should at least said no homo after saying that.
yeah, exactly. He didn't say no homo.
Yeah.
I didn't think that word was out for this movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, they laid into
That
some
was
of.
around, I think.
No, I don't know. I don't know how long that slang.
They hit the F slur pretty hard a couple times.
Oh yeah, even in the
Whoa.
song that I played at the start of the show.
That was a slap. God damn.
I mean, again, it's of the time.
I know. It's also like it's definitely was laid into the culture for sure. That's just yeah, like that's true to form
on the school ground. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. No, I like it's just that's definitely a product of the era, but it's also the shit talk, like it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he got the other Al Pacino. I got to keep pulling out my shitty Pacino.
Oh yeah.
This one's actually really good though. This is when he's like gets into it with Cameron Diaz, and I will say this is like when you can tell how shit Cameron Diaz is at trying to be a tough, badass, like a hard ass. He's like, you know how me and your father negotiated my contract? We had a beer. He's like, we shook hands. He's like, well, I don't drink beer, Tony. He's like, no, I don't imagine you do. He's like, fucking beer. And he like walks.
No, it was funny.
No, I don't imagine you would.
The fucking writing, dude.
And like as he leaves, she's like whining. He's like, fucking beer.
Fucking beer.
But then you got that one that Charleston Heston plays, or sorry, the commissioner of thing, because I honestly believe that woman would eat her own
your
young
children. Yeah,
that was a good line.
Yeah, that was. But again, I don't believe that about that woman. That's the thing, right? Like if it was somebody else, like
yeah, it was like I guess, but like I guess like that's the character. But I was like,
it's a product of its time, right? In that sense, where
not even that she just wasn't doing a good job of conveying that, like that she was that like much of a like you know what I mean, hard ass. Like I didn't get that from her performance, right?
She was crying while they were shit talking her in the other room. Like, yeah.
That
was believable. I was like, okay, yeah, your feelings are hurt. They're literally shit talking you right there, and you can hear it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I mean. That part of the character, I think she played well. But the part where she could have came back like in a more tough way, like as a response to that, I just didn't buy it. But speaking of her though, there's this great line there where she's like, where he's showing off the ring at the party, and he's like, I remember when my dad designed that ring. Guess I'll have to wear mine on a chain around my neck. He's like, you got to win one first. And he's like, and she goes to say, I was only trying to make a joke. Like she didn't even say like finish the sentence. He's like, no, just win one. Like he's like, come on, like let's do it, let's win one, right? Like he's trying to encourage her. But
I didn't get that though. What was she like? I'll have to wear it around my neck. What does she mean?
As a piece of jewelry, like she's gonna
like she wouldn't wear the ring.
Yes.
Well,
okay. I fully didn't understand the line. I was like, I don't know.
Mother has rings, like she has rings, but it's not that she's earned the ring to wear it.
Right. Okay.
That's what.
Okay. I got it. Yeah. No, at the time I was like, I don't fucking understand this line.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good line. I like.
Yeah.
You got to earn a ring. You got to actually take your team in. The team that you've built, like she was building a team there, and the team you built, you'd have to win with them, with that coach or whatever, and that's what him and the father and them. She just got the team handed down to her, right?
No, that makes sense. I thought she meant that, like, I thought she was saying like, when we win, I will wear it on a chain. I'm like, why would you wear it on a chain if you? Like I didn't. Yeah, I misunderstood what she meant.
Yeah, because that was the whole thing.
She just put it in a box.
Yeah,
because that was the whole thing too. Is that like she kept bringing up shit. And like,
and then
Al Pacino, well, not even that she wasn't like Al Pacino's like, did you forget I was there for that? Like,
yeah,
James, like I was there. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, she wasn't necessarily wrong that he was not a good fit for that team anymore because they had moved on without him in that sense, and they weren't like she said, like they were just planning on like she had bigger aspirations and she didn't believe in him anymore.
Right,
her father was the one that believed in him.
Right,
and so like I get like that's why he left at the end, and he was like, I still want to coach though. Like he could have easily been like, I've been soured on this whole experience, I'm gonna retire. And that's why I think that was the one swerve of the film where I thought actually worked really well at the end there, where I'm just like, oh, because I first time I seen it, I was like, I thought he was like done when that happened, because I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want to go back and work for this team, but he took his business elsewhere, right, which was pretty sick. And the back, right? So
yeah.
There's a classic Jack Ross one, Rose one. Sorry, it's like my ex-wife. This is the best. It's like my ex-wife. 21 different personalities, and 7 of them hated me.
Yeah.
You know? Or when 21 different personalities.
Or when James Woods tries to take his cheerleader girlfriend.
That was my next one.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. And honestly, knowing the character, I'm pretty sure he wanted to say something else.
Oh yeah, fucking did he ever? And that's another one that just smacked so hard that it was just so goddamn funny.
Go ahead, I have it right.
He's like, "Come on, let's go." And she's like, "No, I'm gonna stay." And he was like, "Perfect, stay here and get butt fucked by 12 Neanderthals, bitch, bitch." That was so funny. Yeah, he was such a dick.
Yeah, he absolutely was.
Oh man,
it was a good Jack good, what do you call it, Dennis Quaid one too. And then I'm just trying to remember.
It was Cap, yeah.
When he was like, his medication, you know, because he's a football player, he's in pain, right? He goes, "They gotta make this. They gotta top it up a notch or turn it up a notch or something like that. Like, I'm a football player. This is gonna do anything for me."
Oh,
because they do their pain pretty good, those guys.
Oh yeah, and
right?
he was like listing off the medications he wanted and shit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he knew what they just feeding me in here, man. You know, like,
yeah.
That's how football was played at one point, man. You're going and crushing each other. Of course, you're gonna, you know.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah. So it I don't know. It was just a lot of great quotes. I mean, you can name up so many. You can just write off the whole. It was a quotable and then visual movie for me in that sense. No real like. I mean, the storyline was sort of there to me, but yeah, in a sense, it was quotes, bro. It was high, and like some of those quotes were pretty good. I mean, they were pretty top notch, and they came out of nowhere at some points where it would just make you kind of laugh and give you that. Yeah, keep watching. Let's see what's gonna happen next.
Unintentional comedy at times with a decent a good Al Pacino performance. That's the best thing I can say about this film, honestly, because that's otherwise I think the story is quite poor, and the editing choices and the way the film's put together is pretty bizarre. So yeah, no, I think that's the only redeeming quality about the movie is those things, honestly, for me. Like I would watch, like I would YouTube that scene with the speech with Al Pacino if I really wanted to, you know what I mean? But like that's like things like that. I did have fun watching Pacino in this movie, but other than that, I don't feel like there's anything I would need to revisit in this movie. So
right.
Any unique questions? Any questions anybody has about the film? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I got one more line.
Oh yes, go ahead.
This is my last one though. There's a bit I'm blanking on. I think they were like drunk, Pacino, and I feel like it was Cameron Diaz's mom. Mm-hmm. They were like walking around.
Yeah, at the party. That's what the ring.
I think it was, but they were like walking up these like they were outside. They were like walking up these steps, and he's just like drunk talking, and he was just like, "He was football, Margaret." Like he just like the line, "He was football," was so funny.
Yeah, because that's when he's like,
"Oh, football, Margaret,
I've been knighted," and she like puts him up, and he's like, "Hey, cha 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 cha," and he's like dancing around.
Yeah, just that line. I don't even know. It's like not even like it's like background dialogue even, but he was just like, "He was football, Margaret."
And stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
Where she's like, "Oh, let's do this again. Let's do it tomorrow." Like,
yeah. Anyway, unique questions.
I didn't have anything for this, to be honest with you. I do have one just off the top of my head, though. I would say,
yeah.
Would this film be any better, you think, if it was directed by someone else?
I think if it had a little bit more rights to thing, maybe. But I don't know about directing.
Is there enough to salvage out of this? Is what I'm saying, though. If it was under someone else's like direction, like a director of this film, If it wasn't Oliver Stone, because you could argue the reason and things that people like about this movie are very Oliver Stone, like stuff that he's known for. So if you took Oliver Stone out of the equation, would this film be any better or worse as a result?
Will the cast still be the same?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't.
I want to say yes, but I can't. I can't like.
I honestly think this is very.
I can't qualify it with like who I think could do it better or differently. I think it comes down to just story structure. Like it wouldn't they would have to zero in on segments of it instead and turn it, or maybe like JT said, like just have it be a show and have long episodes, like a limited series or something.
Friday Night Lights or something like
similarly
that.
Yeah, something like that. But no, I don't think, just it's too fragmented. Like I don't think, I don't know.
They've taken out a lot of that. They've left a lot of blank areas in it. So I don't know if there'll be a director that can actually take it in different directions. Like I said, it's like that picture in the background there, right?
I would say no. I would say no. I think that he.
It's too far gone.
Yes, I don't think. I actually think that there's things that you can look for in this film that an Oliver Stone fan would enjoy and be the better for it. If you put somebody else on as the director on this film, I think it would be worse as a result. If that makes any sense, I just think that I think that it is the one thing maybe going for this film outside of like I said, maybe the Pacino performance or something else. If you are an Oliver Stone fan, I feel like this is interesting to watch in that aspect.
It it almost makes like the parts that we don't like about it excusable because it's him.
And you could, and I like I said, I'm self-proclaimed. I'm not a big fan of Oliver Stone for the most part, and I feel like if like I think like for instance Max is, I think if he was on this episode, he would have found more things to defend in the sense like he likes about this movie.
Oh, he's gonna be pissed. Yeah, he's gonna be really not happy with me.
I mean, listen, that's
I mean, he's come firing at me like that, so he can have some if he wants. He can take it. He can dish it. He can take it, right?
My question was, who would you have cast as Cameron Diaz's role instead to have?
That's a good question. I was thinking about this. I was having a hard time with it, but I was thinking about this.
I don't have an answer. That was the question I came up with.
I'm thinking about that period of time too, like which, I mean, honestly, like what's her name? If you put, and this actually that came out in 2000. Okay, stick with me here.
Okay.
If you put Julia Roberts like an Aaron Brockovich,
I fucking knew you were gonna say that.
If you put Julia Roberts playing like an Aaron Brockovich type of character in this, I would have believed it more.
I like that answer.
Right?
I like it.
Yes. If you replace with Julia Roberts, I think this would have been way better.
What's the one that played the monster there? What's her fucking name?
Oh, no, not Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, she's a badass for sure.
Or Amy. Why am I thinking Amy for some reason? The Aaron Brockovich was the fucking show. What the fuck is her name?
Charlize Theron.
There you go. Charlize Theron. When
I could see that too. I could see that too.
She played a great character when she played it in Monster, right? I mean, that was that type of, vicious, and he could probably stand up to that kind of shit.
See that.
I'm trying to think of. I have no basis for this, but oh my god, I'm so blanking on her fucking name. But I feel like she was in like a sports movie where she played kind of like a hard ass character, and that's maybe. But I haven't seen it, so it's kind of baseless. Oh my god.
Oh, which movie was she in? Jerry Maguire?
No. Oh my god, this is so dumb. The way that I'm gonna pitch that, that I can't think of her name. Do you remember? Okay, Nico, you watched The Office, right?
Yeah.
That episode where they're talking about, is she hot? Her face is super symmetrical. What's her name?
She was in $1 Million Baby, I think. Right? Wasn't she? Hold on, I'll tell you in 1 second.
Oh my god, what the hell is her name? Yes.
Yeah.
She was in like a basketball movie or something, I think.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah. I think you're right.
that's the only. I have no other basis other than that. I'm like, I could see her doing that maybe.
She's a good actress. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But how about Angelina Jolie? You think she could pull this off? Because you need someone who's hot.
Better
too.
than Cameron.
Yeah.
Better
right?
than Cameron just because she's played the bitch and she
That's what
can
I
do
mean.
it.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
She's got a resting bitch face too. Really.
Well,
I still think, but I think she could play the bitch, but I don't think she could play the. I think that she.
Oh, like the Babe in the Woods, she couldn't play like one of those types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
like
right.
I don't think she could, because like the whole like disrespect aspect of it. I think that she's played the bitch and she's like too well respected. But maybe I'm like thinking of that in like today. Maybe back then she might have fit it a little better. But she has played the bitch well.
I'm telling you, I think Julia Roberts is the answer. Honestly.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's around this period because she does Aaron Brockovich a year after this movie.
And she kind of has like soft features too. Like it kind of like Cameron Diaz is too soft. Yeah, she's sort of Julia Roberts is like the right mix. I think you're right.
I think so. And I was really disappointed by that a lot because I was like, oh, Cameron Diaz is in this movie, and I was like, oh, Cameron Diaz is not good in this movie. I was really disappointed by that.
We love you, Cameron, but no.
It's funny. She actually just made her return to acting with the
I know.
Jamie Foxx.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
She's starring opposite Jamie Foxx in a movie that just came out. I forgot the name of it. It's on Netflix.
I saw she was doing press stuff. I think I just saw something for that.
Yeah.
She was on like Graham Norton talking about her comeback.
Oh yeah, that show. Those clips are the best of that show. They really like their interviews are really great.
They clip farm that guy a lot.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Clip farm, is that what they call it?
Yeah, like they'll put it on TikTok and shit.
How about you, Jay? Any questions for the group about the film that you want to pose?
No, I just wanted to say that this fucking was 2.5 hours. That
I wish you had back.
Kind of, maybe more than 2.5 hours because I've watched it a couple now. Like maybe that's like 3 hours, 4 hours I want back right now at least. But I did take a lot out of it. And I don't have any questions to pose. Like, I mean, I did take a lot out of those little scenes. I was able to grasp that. I don't really have
There was a car crash outside my apartment just now.
Oh, wow.
I can hear it happening right now. What the fuck?
There's always some wild shit that happens to you when recording.
Like,
I heard the honking and then I heard
like ground zero over there, H.
Maybe it's a yeah, it kind of is. The cats are fucking freaking out. Like, yeah.
You get a little bit of a hill and people don't know what they're doing in this weather.
It's that fucking Oxton Highway, dude. People don't slow down. Shit happens out here.
Yeah, and they all think they're rich over there, so they can get.
I know it's Forest Hill, man.
I also
Forest Hill Drive.
As far as like legacy of the film, all I put is that it's a sports movie. Like that's the only legacy I feel like this film would have.
Well, a legacy,
like it's a football movie.
Sports,
sorry.
Yeah, when you say sports, you're just generalizing. I still think it's got, like I said, it's legacy can leave behind is just the as Julie would put it, the gayness of the film, with the all that stuff, right?
The bromance, indeed.
All about the interest.
But those inspirational quotes and some of those talks between like the older guy and the younger guy, it's like the father son sort of thing. It's you guys kind of get that I can see that legacy can, like, if anybody wants to take anything from this film, I think that could be the point if you tend to really want to focus and watch it and maybe rewatch it and just to see if you get the point of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they could actually pull it off nowadays. Right?
Yeah, that's all.
Football field, a good football game. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like there's been other football movie. Like it's not really a great example of it because I've heard the movie itself isn't good. But for instance, there is that Will Smith concussion movie that is about the concussion protocol stuff of football.
You got all famous Rudy. You got everything.
see, but those again, there's inspirational football movies, there's comedy like football movies, there's football movies where they're trying to focus on serious issues. This was a little bit of everything and not enough of anything. You know what I mean? Like it just ran the
like
gamut.
it didn't commit to
yeah. So that's its biggest flaw, this film, in my opinion, is that it didn't
commit to one big storyline, but it tried to finish itself off at the end.
Right.
As one big storyline.
Any of those thoughts that they had in there about the healthcare in the football, about the the things about them ruining,
it could have took them a long way.
Right. But they didn't focus on it.
They didn't nurture it enough. Yeah.
Right. So, and then all of a sudden it just boils down to a speech at the end of the movie and 20 minutes of gameplay. Like,
yeah.
That's all you got, right? Like it was just like, oh, okay.
It was literally like watching a football game. The last 2 minutes of the play, it was a half an hour of a fucking movie. Like the last 2 minutes of that game that we were watching there, like, you know, it was like 2 hours of a friggin' movie. It was like, you know, or at least a good half an hour of that movie, that chunk there, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, this is that extra stuff you're just watching, and they're just trying to fit it in right at the end.
I also didn't have any like big hot takes or what the fuck moments. There was a ton in this movie. Like honestly, yeah, but I think we kind of illustrated that already through like talking about the movie itself, right? But I didn't have any like big hot takes about anything in this film or anything like that. I think everyone kind of unanimously agreed on our thoughts on this film here for the most part. I thought I
was going to be outnumbered here. I was so sure.
A mess of a movie. It is probably a mess of a movie. It's not one of those messes like Coppola thing. Beautiful.
I think that's the legacy, is that you watch it and you feel like you've had a concussion, and the audience is really divided. Like
she's so harsh. She's always so.
I don't know what it feels like to have a concussion, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, watching this movie is a concussion, and the divide in the audience is really interesting because, like, some people are just jacking off Oliver Stone for the filmmaking, and some people were like, "Wow, this is a fucking steaming pile of garbage," and some people were like, "This was awful. I loved it." There's such a fucking broad spectrum of reviews and stuff. Like Letterboxd is such a farm for like people who were like, "What the fuck was this?" 5 stars. Yeah. Like it was so bizarre. Like flipping through their screenshots, I'll have to send you my favorite reviews on there are so funny. But yeah, it's a really big divide of people that were like, "What the fuck was this?" Or people that were like, "Oliver Stone is a genius," and then there was people that. Do you guys think that?
I think you said it the best when you said, "Fucking what amount of cocaine was he doing when he fucking?"
That's one of my favorite fucking reviews I saw in there. This guy was like, "This was a 2.5 hour line of cocaine, the whole movie," and I was like, "Yep, yeah, it was."
Yeah, when you mentioned it in the beginning, I didn't even think of it that way. But yeah, you're so totally. It's so totally right. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of somebody's quote about that. But yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Right? It really did. It made it feel like Scarface, you know, gone good in a sense like that. You know what I mean?
Whack.
Tony buried his head in that.
That was just witness protection.
And then he
was like, "All right, lock it in."
He left the drug trade instead of getting shot at the end of that last scene. And
he went to witness protection or something, and he just
he buried his face in that big mound, and he's like bitches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yards, inches.
This movie feels like a football fever dream.
It's a serious, like a football player, like probably like I don't know, a young football player's wet dream, watching it and thinking this is what the NFL is going to be like. Yeah, right, party time.
Yes,
but yeah, it's not like that. I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's a lot calmer than they portrayed it to nowadays, right? In that sense,
you want to hope so, but we never know.
We never know what the parties are really like behind scenes, right?
Yeah,
and finally. Movies
never know what happens with a bunch of shillongs.
This was fucking hard. This one was really hard for me. Like for pairings, I suffered in this category a lot. I know I usually come in with like a pretty broad, not like a broad list, but I usually have like more picks for this. But I don't. in this genre, I'm limited too, right? Like, because I try to only suggest movies that I've seen that makes the most sense to me. I haven't seen a lot of sports movies in general, especially football movies, but like one that I did see that I did like was The Longest Yard. So I put that down.
It's fun. The Adam Sandler
The
one?
Adam Sandler one. I've not seen the original. I didn't know it was a fucking remake.
So that's one of my moving pairings is the original.
Burt Reynolds one.
Yes, it's far superior. I mean, to the Adam Sandler one. My opinion.
That's fair to say.
And there's actually some fun bit of history with that film. Is the guy that went and off and wrote the screenplay to that movie was the guy that was involved with the making of the Godfather film. If you watch it, there's a show called The Offer that kind of detailed like the making of the Godfather and all the issues that they had with the mob and everything else. And that guy is the guy at the end of the show. They actually mentioned the fact that he had a screenplay kicking around, that he had an idea for a movie he wanted to do. And after being involved with helping the production of the Godfather, he went off and actually wrote the screenplay for The Longest Yard and starring Burt Reynolds, the original, right? So it's kind of a little bit of interesting piece of movie history, and I learned about that from watching that television show, which I feel like a lot of people didn't end up checking out, but it was actually pretty enjoyable. I liked it. I remember Leslie had talked about it with me. Did you end up watching it, Jay, ever, or no? The Offer. The Offer. That's the one that's
it's on one.
It's good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Sorry, I was thinking the order, but no.
Albert S. Ruddy. Albert S. Ruddy is the guy who did the screenplay for that. But that was one of my movie pairings. Julie is the original Longest Yard. So yeah, the Adam Sandler one's decent. I mean, it's way.
I didn't know it was a remake until today.
Yeah.
Which, now that Burt Reynolds, now I know like Burt Reynolds is in it. That's an homage to fucking the original.
Yeah.
One of my other ones, just on Oliver Stone and like Coke binge movies, was Natural Born Killers, which we talked about earlier. I know you don't like it, but like,
no, that's a good pairing with this.
It's in the same lane of stylistically as him, and I feel like it's better done than this. Like, the whole movie is sort of about a drug binge, and it kind of fits like that. What we were saying is like these sort of drug-induced moments of the movie are the only points in which that style of editing seemed to stylistically make the most sense. It was like, this is disorienting because it's a drug scene. Like, it makes a lot of sense for the purposes of storytelling. And that whole movie is like a fucking ayahuasca trip. So that's like, or peyote or whatever the fuck they're doing in the desert in that movie. But and I like that movie. I kind of liked it.
You know what? I have to revisit it, to be fair, because I feel like I went into it wanting to hate that movie because of my thoughts about the whole Quentin Tarantino.
It's weird. It's out there.
And I do.
It's out there, and I didn't know that either. Like, we talked about that before, but that was something I didn't know when I saw it, because I saw it like way too young to be watching that fucking movie. But I've seen it a number of times since, and I still like it. But knowing that now, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. I feel like I understand how that was like a Tarantino brainchild. And like he took it over, and then it became, like I can totally see that.
I can see it, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My only other pick, and this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either as a pairing, like I acknowledge this one, but I was sort of in this Reddit thread when I was looking for, I'm like, what else? Like, what do other people sort of like pair this? Like when people are like, oh, what are movies that are similar to this, whatever. And I was like, what do people like think of this movie when they think of like, oh, this is another one that's, might be a palate cleanser or whatever. It was this thread that was sort of talking about movies that are sports movies, but they're using the sports part as a vessel to tell a different story, which like this movie kind of fits that, but it is kind of more about the sport itself. But it did have like equal parts elements of like the gameplay and like the rest of like what comes along with being a football player and like being in that industry. Like there was a lot of focus on that too. I don't necessarily think it fits the profile of like the sport in the movie was just a vessel, but like it's another movie I've seen and I'm like, you know what? I can, it might be a nice palate cleanser to follow, but I put The Sandlot down.
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't really fit genre wise, but it was just another sports movie.
I do like The Sandlot a lot. It's a great movie. Yeah. So Yeah, but I think the fact that one's a kids movie and this one is far from it. Yeah,
It's really far, but I was like, you know what? That would be a good palate cleanser, and it's still like a sports movie to me, kind of. But it's the sport as a vessel of the storytelling, which like maybe fits a little bit better for maybe what I wanted out of this movie.
right.
That like the sport is a secondary sort of component. I don't know. It's kind of an out there pick, but like that was kind of all I came up with. The only other thing, and this is an afterthought too, is just when I think of Jamie Foxx and fucking LL Cool J in a movie together, I think of Toys.
Were they both voices in that?
They were actors in it. They were in it.
Oh, the Robin Williams movie? Which one? Oh,
It's not at all in the same lane. It's just what I think of when I see them on screen together. I'm like, oh, they're there again.
sorry, I was thinking of Robots for a second, which is
No. Toys.
one where he's
Which is another fucking weird Coke binge movie, kind of.
Yeah.
But,
I put for the comedy side of football movies, I put Longest Yard, the original, and then I also put. I'm not a huge fan of this movie either in terms of football movies, but I put The Replacements with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman. That movie's okay. It's still, I feel like, a subpar sports movie, but again, if we're gonna go with some certain aspects of the time it came out in, and also like some of the star power behind that movie with Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves, and like the fact that it's also kind of cheesy at times, that movie, but there's comedy aspects to it. I would throw that in there as well. And then, but if you want to go for a more inspirational football movie to counteract this movie, which is all over the place, I would throw Friday Night Lights in there for the football movie personally. And then I also put JFK for the
Oliver Stone
pairing for the Oliver Stone. Yeah, just because it's one that I actually like of his. And like there's a lot of interesting things in terms of the editing of that film and some of the crazy moments of that movie in terms of the super conspiracy hole that he goes down, that I think you can relate somewhat to some of the craziness of this film in that aspect.
Yeah.
So that's the one I put for the Oliver Stone pairing, but those are mine. Jay?
For the comedies part of it, I thought of because originally it felt like a college ball fucking movie, right? So I just went with Bobby, with good old Bobby Boucher, right?
Waterboy, yeah,
right. Because I mean, it's funny too in that aspect, isn't it? It's a football movie. It's a college.
That was
football.
Another one I saw too in the Reddit deep dive. Was Waterboy is mentioned?
Yeah,
but I don't think I've seen that.
It's inspirational, but it's also a comedy, if anything, right? And it's not as inspirational as it is a comedy,
right?
But you get with Henry Winkler, and he can be the Al Pacino in that sense, and fucking, But if I was gonna go right off topic, I would just go back with it. If you're gonna watch Al Pacino like this, you might as well go watch him back in Scarface and just watch him and do that, and then right away after and be like, what the fuck just happened there? Did it just roll over 20 years down the road and he's all of a sudden a coach for football, and because of that whole those rants he goes off of? But if I want to go inspirational in that sense, I would take the movie that my nephew did. I would say You Gotta Believe, because it's got that sort of aspects with the kids and the fathers, and just more of that male, like Julie says, gay aspect to a movie.
I would not call that movie gay. Relax.
No,
I would not roast that movie.
He means in a happy sense.
Well, I'm not saying gay as in happy when I talk about this movie. I'm talking about gay as in gay.
I'm thinking joyful. Cheery.
Okay, well then use that word instead.
Yeah. No, but yeah, for the inspirational part, because it kind of had that same, but then real life at the end, you know what I mean? It's all about shit happens, right? Like you get injuries, you get fucking, you leave. There is little parts that I can get from something like that, but nothing that I've watched recently or that I can think of off the top of my head recently.
Yeah, this is a weird one to try and pair.
It's hard. That's why you have to more, I think, pair it with comedy in a sense.
Yeah.
In that sense, when it comes to a movie. As opposed to, because there, like Nico said, there is a lot of football movies that are done really well. Like, I mean, inspirational. You can even say the Rudy one too as well, right? But I mean, it's
bro.
There you go. It falls on that same line, right? But not as funny and not as comedic as this, right? very,
I don't
very
think
far.
I'm sure that movie hasn't aged well in some aspects. Like not
Probably,
not
right?
in a politically correct way, just like this is really cheesy way. You know what I mean? I bet that one hasn't aged well. In
Right.
that respect.
But I
anyway,
get the whole like aspect, with the inspirational part about
Sure.
not your average size football player.
very quickly, you've heard, like, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the real Rudy in real life is actually a big asshole. You know about this? Like he's apparently, I think his head. Speaking of heads that got a little too big after the movie was made about him, apparently he's a big dick. That guy, the real Rudy. So,
Oh, I can imagine, eh?
yeah.
A lot of these guys.
Yeah. So okay, so that's gonna do it for Jay's pick any given Sunday. Now, Julie, have you confirmed in a couple of weeks if we're doing that with our guests? If not, I'll have to throw a pick out there if that's the case.
I don't, they're not back yet, so I don't have like a confirmed date.
Okay.
I think we may as well go forward with yours and then revisit. I think that's probably safer.
Okay. I'm going to throw a strange one out there. I don't know if you necessarily expect this movie of me for a pick, but and I know Max is also going to be still gone from the next episode or two, guys. I believe he's taken.
Are you sparing him, or is he going to miss out?
No, I really love this movie. I mean, I hate to say that. I never want to say that anymore because I don't want to come here and have
Clip it
all over it. Like,
that's what I am. Hot takes.
So, listen, I felt I'd come through with a little bit more of a sappy film for you two because I know Jay likes his sap.
Oh, here we go with the fucking Notebook.
It's not the Notebook. No. It's actually not even that sappy. So I'm picking the pick High Fidelity. Have you ever seen that movie? So it's a John Cusack movie. Yeah,
I like him.
It's a John Cusack film about a guy who breaks up with his girlfriend, and he works in a record shop. And he basically goes through his dating history throughout the film and how, and tries to make some sense of his life.
Just like a post-mortem on all his relationships.
Yes. And they actually did a one and done season. The show never got picked up for a second season, which I was really upset about. Starring Zoe Kravitz. She was in it and she played, it was like a female. It was one of those, gender role reversals where instead of a guy, it was Zoe Kravitz in the lead role, and it was a woman's perspective on a bunch of relationships that she's been in. I actually really, really loved the show. It only lasted one season; it got canceled. It was one of those like start of the pandemic shows that came out that I heard about, and we watched the whole thing in like a day. I feel like during the pandemic, it was really good. But anyways, so that's gonna be my pick for the next one. With John Cusack, and it came out in 2000. So it's a comedy as well, so with some drama, I guess, mixed in with it as well. So that'll be our next pick, or at least my next pick, and we'll let you guys know about the guest that we did have planned for Giuseppe Makes a Movie, which is still in the works as far as we know. And Max will also be back at some point as well. He's taking a brief hiatus at the moment from the show. He got sick of JT's bullshit. Julie's like, fair.
He's a pussy, right, Jay?
That's right. That's straight.
And also,
tell me how you really.
Just to kind of plug it one more time, not in a gay way. I do want to throw out the fact.
Going with that?
Hey, listen, it's an ongoing joke now of the episode. What can you do? So
that's right.
The week after this comes out, check your feed, guys. We'll have our first episode of Late Night Letterbox, our new show that'll kind of fall in between our episodes of Late Night at the Movies. Make sure to check that out. It's going to be with us three as well, the first episode. And the segment that we basically had where we talked about what we've been watching lately, what we're looking forward to watching, that is basically going to be turned into this show and an extension of that segment, as well as maybe some other extra things thrown in there as well. So make sure to check that out. It'll be kind of like a shorter episode of sorts in comparison to these. So where we kind of do the deep dives. All right. So we'll see everybody next time. You guys have anything else to say? Any other comments about this film? Jay?
It was gay.
It was gay.
It wasn't. All right, guys. We'll see the inches. They're all around us. We'll see you next time.
That's all I do is I play with inches all the time, buddy. There you go.